Hi friends, today we're going to read a story called Mrs. Piggle Won't Pick Up Toys Cure. And the author is Betty MacDonald and the illustrator is Bruce Watley. Here's our title page, The Won't Pick Up Toys Cure. Oh, I see a dedication page. That's who the book was written for Kate and Alex. Mrs. Piggle lives here in our town. She has brown sparkly eyes and long brown hair, which she usually wears in a knot on top of her head. She has a dog called Wag and a cat called Lightfoot. But the most remarkable thing about Mrs. Piggle is her house, which is upside down. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt the story, but am I upside down? I know I'm reading about someone's house that's upside down, but am I upside down? All right, let me see if I can fix it. Okay, just give me a second. All right, am I good now? Am I not upside? Good. This April Fool's Day thing is just crazy. I don't know what's going on. All of the children love Mrs. Piggle, and Mrs. Piggle loves them. In fact, Mrs. Piggle just naturally understands children, which is of course why all the parents call Mrs. Piggle whenever their children are being difficult. Mrs. Piggle always knows exactly what to do to help cure children's bad habits, like not picking up toys, which was Hubert Prentice's bad habit. Hubert was a very lucky boy whose grandfather always sent him wonderful toys for his birthday. Hubert had an electric train with a track that went around 4 times. He had a great big wagon full of blocks, and he had 1,500 toy soldiers. He had a wooden circus, a fire engine with real sirens and lights, and so many books that he had to have 2 bookcases in his room. Hubert liked all his toys, and he generally shared them with his friends, but he never put them away. When Hubert's mother would tell Hubert to pick up his toys, all he ever did was stuff them under the bed or into the closet. Mrs. Prentice was getting tired of picking up all of Hubert's toys by herself. Do you think she should be picking up his toys? I don't. One rainy day, Hubert invited his friends over to play. They took out every one of Hubert's toys and played with them all afternoon. Then they went home for dinner and didn't put a single toy away. The next day, Mrs. Prentice opened the door to Hubert's room. She just looked and looked. Then she went downstairs and called Mrs. Piggle. When Mrs. Prentice told Mrs. Piggle about Hubert's toys, Mrs. Piggle said, "I think that the best thing for you to use is my old-fashioned won't pick up toys cure. Starting right now, don't pick up any of Hubert's toys. When his room becomes so messy he can't get out of it, call me." So Mrs. Prentice didn't pick up any of Hubert's toys. She baked a chocolate cake instead, and she did not say a word to Hubert about his toys when Hubert's friends came over to play. The next morning, when Hubert came down for breakfast, there was a little pan of paint from his watercolor paint set stuck in his hair. Hubert's mother did not say anything. The next morning, Hubert looked as though he hadn't slept very well. The morning after that, Hubert had 2 pans from his paint set stuck to his hair. And he had a red mark on his cheek that was the same shape as one of his blocks. Hubert's mother thought he must have slept on it. No, it's getting pretty messy up there. On the 7th day, Hubert didn't come out of his room at all. At 11 o'clock, his mother got worried and called Mrs. Piggle. Hubert must be trapped in his room, said Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle. Wait until he calls for food, and then put a piece of dry bread with peanut butter on the garden rake and poke it through his window. He'll have to drink out of the hose. When Mrs. Prentice hung up the telephone, she heard Hubert shouting, "Mother, I'm hungry." She got a crusty piece of bread, spread some peanut butter on it, and took it around to the side of the house. Soon a hand and arm appeared at Hubert's window. The hand found the bread, grabbed it off the rake, and then banged the window shut. That night, Hubert's mother stuck his meat and potato and vegetable on the rake, and his father pushed the hose through the window. It took Hubert a long time to reach the window. The next day, around 2 o'clock, Hubert heard music and children's voices, laughing and calling from outside. When he finally managed to look out the window, he saw Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle and all his friends, and right behind them came a circus parade. "Hurry, hurry, Hubert," called Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle. "We are all marching to the circus." But Hubert couldn't get out of his room. There were too many train, cars, and blocks, and toy soldiers and books in the way. He couldn't hear the music. He could hear the music getting farther and farther away, and he began to cry. Then he heard a tap at his window. It was the rake with a note on it. I'm going to read the note. "Dear Hubert, the only way to get out of that trap is to put everything away where it belongs. If you hurry, we will wait for you. Your friend, Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle." Hubert put away his blocks, his train cars, his paints, his circus, and his books. He made his bed and put away his toy soldiers. He was just putting away his very last toy when he heard the music again. He put the toy in the toy box, put the box in the closet, and tore down the stairs and out the front door. There they came, Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle, all the children, and the circus. Hubert ran out to meet them, and away they went down the street, with Hubert carrying the flag and yelling the loudest. And no one said anything at all about the pan of orange paint stuck in his hair. Okay, I have 2 questions for you. First question, do you think Hubert learned his lesson? Do you think the cure worked? And the second question is, what do you think the main idea of this story is? We talked about the main idea of a different story. So I'm going to give you 3 choices. Do you think this story was about a circus? Do you think the story was mostly about how to clean up your toys? Or do you think the story was mostly about painting? I'm going to give those choices one more time. Do you think the story was mostly about a circus? Do you think it was mostly about how to clean up your toys? Or do you think it was mostly about painting? All right, I think I have my answer. So I can't wait to hear yours.